This is going to be part 7 of the Exorcism Team Discussion. Incest, molestation, and all sexual abuse brings big demons. Let's see what the Lord has to say for us in this hour. Let's go. We believe that God is able to set people free who have been satanically ritually abused. We believe and we have seen God set those free who have been incested, molested, and sexually assaulted. What we want you to understand out of this teaching is that once these doorways are opened in children, there are times when incest and molestation takes place as a very small child. If the child has not gotten justice, they wind up going through a lifestyle that is promiscuous in nature. This is not their fault, because what happens is the person who is victimized then becomes soul tied to them. Let's talk about this for a little bit.
Yes, that's...
Many people don't understand soul ties, and we received a question on the Exorcism Team Discussion about this. Well, where's the scripture for soul tie at? And the answer that I gave was based upon the relationship between Jonathan and Saul. Or Jonathan and David, sorry, not Saul. Jonathan and David had a relationship that was a friendship, and they both said that their souls were knit or tied together. There's another relationship or marriage relationship that also has a soul tie, and that is the marital relationship. The husband and the wife become one flesh, one person. So in the opposite side of the spiritual realm, when you're having relations, or when someone is molesting you or someone is incesting you, that person's soul becomes attached to you. And there have been many times when we have done exorcisms on people that we've had to remove fragments of the victimizer from the victim.
Yes.
And in order to get that person free, they're having their thoughts. They're wanting to act out. The victim is wanting to act out on the victimizer's thoughts, because a part of them gets soul tied to them, and that soul tie is seeking to control and manipulate. You hear the term grooming all the time, when you're dealing with sexual predators. They set the person up to be more friendly to them, yes, to be more open and to receptive. The victim is set up. You're giving some toys. You're giving some money. You're giving some candy, special favors. So by the time all is said and done, the victimizer has such power and control and has such an inroads into the victim, they don't even know what's going on. And next thing you know, they're victimized.
Yes. Yes.
They've been completely destroyed because of this whole process of grooming.
Yes.
Now, when we talk about soul ties, the abuses went on so long and so deep. A part of that victimizer gets into the soul, just like a marriage, of the victim. And those pieces have to be removed. Through an exorcism, you have to have the Holy Spirit. We take the sword of the Spirit and we separate the victim from the victimizer.
Yes.
We take the sword of the Spirit and we separate any sexual relationship from the person. Because in the spirit realm, because of these sexual acts, they have become joined together. And it gets even... Go ahead.
And I was just going to say that in a marriage, another example is when a marriage happens under God, how they become one is by being consummated.
Yes.
So that's another example of the two becoming one.
Yes.
So there's your tie. You become whoever you have sex with, they become a part of you.
Yes.
And their demons come in you too. So you have to keep that in mind. What's going on in our society, people do not realize what is going on. They go on a first date and they think part of the first date is to go to bed.
Yeah. You have to be very careful of those types of people, those types of setups. And there's so much that's negative out there about the dating scene and the dating system. And if you're not aware of it, you can be taken advantage of.
Yes.
So when you're dealing with these soul ties from, you can get a soul tie from a person who's raped you. There was no desire ever, for you to be raped. But because this sexual act took place, here this soul tie is with this person, and you don't understand why you're having thoughts of for the person that raped you. It's just something that takes place spiritually that has to be broken, and it has to be separated from you in the spirit realm. Sometimes we have to take people to the courtroom in heaven and separate them spiritually with a spiritual divorce, so that the legal right that the enemy gained by having sex with the person is completely destroyed and obliterated. We often deal with cases of people who have been promiscuous for an extended period of time, and there's nowhere that they can go without other people who are lustful or who have been promiscuous as well. They see them and they know instantly who they are.
Yes.
There's a law in the spirit. It's called spirit draws to spirit. So if you're a lustful person, you will automatically see and know other people who are lustful, and you will be attracted to them. You will find yourself not being able to get away from them. And the same thing is true with the incest and molestation. You would not believe the amount of people who have been incested, who keep getting in patterns where other people are incestors, and they keep repeating the cycle over and over and over inside of their lives. So when we do exorcisms on these people, we have to cut these ties off. We have to cut the signs off in the spirit realm that have been erected over them. Sometimes we also have to go down into the regions of captivity and remove the victim from the prison cell that the enemy has forced them into, because the enemy wants to keep them in that prison cell in the spirit, so that other demonic spirits will be drawn to them.
Yes.
And there's a lot to this, and I don't want to rush through, but I just want you to understand how much trouble comes to someone who has been through this level of abuse. And it's not a light thing. It's not a light thing at all.
I also want to say that don't point your finger at the people that are continually promiscuous.
No.
You don't know what their background was.
Yeah.
And these demons want to be satisfied through that person.
Yeah.
And the people that victimize them, they have no clue, really. They just have these urges, and the stronger those demons, these big demons come in them, they just take these people over, because those demons want to be satisfied through those people's bodies. So if anything, you see something, you're concerned about somebody, pray for them, because they don't know. Like I said, I think I mentioned one of our earlier webinars, I knew of a person that she was with every man on campus. And when she got married, she could not receive the love from her husband, like the book of Hosea. She could not, because there's these demons that were driving her to want to have other people, So I still pray for her. I heard of that story, and it's really sad.
Yeah, because they will keep you from being able to be. The word is fidelity. They will work at keeping you from having fidelity with your spouse.
Yes.
Because they'll constantly say, well, someone else is better at sex than your spouse, so let's go try them. Or your spouse is not going to do the things that you want to do, so let's go try them. You can leave your spouse to the side, and we'll go find somebody who will do the things that you really like. And when you strip all of these things down, you really don't like those things anyway. Yeah. It's the demons that are inside of you acting out, wanting you to engage in these illicit activities, in these illicit behaviors. The child who has been victimized has not gotten justice. If the child who's been victimized has not gotten justice, they wind up going through a lifestyle that is promiscuous in nature.
Yes.
It's not their fault, because what happens is the person who's victimized them has become soul tied, and they start acting out sexually from the soul ties. So, for example, you have a child who has been molested by their uncle. The uncle has been perverted, has engaged in years of perverted sex and the use of pornography, violence, and the demons in this person and his uncle are now a part of this little child. And there have been times where the rage and the anger and the violence of the adult starts showing itself through the child.
Mm-hmm.
The child was docile, friendly, but after these incest occurrences took place, the whole nature of the child left, and this other person's personality stepped into them.
Yes.
And as the exorcism minister, you have to be able to discern when this takes place in order to separate, these soul ties, these soul invaders from these people. Without an exorcism, this child will carry these demons into their adult life. They will go through their childhood, their young adulthood, and their adulthood carrying around these demons from their uncle and acquiring more demons through new sexual partners. And they will have, as a result of their trying to fulfill these sexual urges that have been started inside of them because of the incest, the molestation, or the sexual abuse. This is very tricky, because if parents or counselors or church workers or leaders don't understand the depths of what happens to someone who's been molested or incested or sexually abused, they can look at this child and blame them further for their behaviors. And this happens. Instead of them getting the help that they need, we as ministers can push them further behind.
Yes.
Now, I'm not giving anyone a license to sin. I'm not giving anyone a license to go out and just do your own thing, because sometimes people will take this and say, "Oh, I've got an excuse now. I was incested, and now I can just really do my thing." No, this is not the purpose for this teaching. This is not the purpose of us sharing these things with you. The purpose is so that you can find the help that you need.
Yes.
You can find the exorcism team that you need in order to be able to set you free, to get free. Our whole goal as the exorcism team is to set people free.
Yes, yes.
We're not perfect in any way, shape, or form. And a lot of us have sin natures that you can plainly see. But we are dedicated to trying to help other people come out of the bondages that they're in. And thank God, He has caused people to be free.
Yes.
He has caused people to experience freedom from these demons that have destroyed their lives. As an exorcism worker, you have to be fully discerning in the spirit of everything that is going on with the person that you're trying to help. When you encounter someone who has been incested, molested, or sexually abused, you really have to have discernment and know how to dismantle the systems that the enemy has placed around about this person. This can get very complicated because you can have an older child Sorry, I lost my train of thought there. You can have an older child who is molesting a younger child, and you don't realize that the older child has been molested or incested by someone else. So you really have two situations that you need to deal with in order to be able to help set the person free. You have to be able to track down where the demons came from. In the case where the older child has molested a younger child, you have to be aware that someone molested the older child as well. So not only is the older child dealing with sexual abuse, but they have soul invaders and soul fragments from the person that molested them. So the problems and the demons compound. they get bigger and bigger. And they get deeper embedded into the child. And this takes a different level of discernment to be able to see through everything that's going on. And this is why sometimes families just split and break up, because there's so much of this incest that's going on. No one can really get to the root or the bottom of what's really going on without some major violence taking place or someone getting arrested. And then still, they don't really get to the root of what has been happening and what's going on within this family. You have to be able to see the heart of the person that you're working on to expose the darkness and remove the lies that the enemy shed. Also, in the midst of sexual abuse, when you start sifting through the rubble, every person who's been victimized, it can be difficult for the victim because blame must be assigned in order to remove the shame. Let me explain that. The victim has to be able to say inside of themselves that the person that victimized them was wrong, was bad. And this is one of the most difficult parts of this too, because you don't want to say Uncle Johnny is bad, because Uncle Johnny's done very nice things for me.
Yes.
You know, he gave me a car, he gave me money, or he gave mama some money. So you have to reconcile all of that within the child's victim's mind as well, in order to be able to convince them to say, no, what Uncle Johnny did was completely wrong. And he should have never given you money.
Yes.
He should have never tried to groom you to do these acts. Because what he really was doing was manipulating and controlling you with the things that you needed. And this isn't right. In many cases, we have found that shame remains in the victim because they blame themselves. Now, Bob Larson has an excellent teaching, and it's called Shattering the Shame. Please listen to this, to what I'm about to tell you, because this has saved so many people that God has brought to us through exorcisms. Shattering the shame. The first step is indict the instigator. You have to declare guilty the person who perpetrated against you. If you don't do this, you're not going to be able to get through the rest of the steps. You cannot declare clemency or pardon without a guilty verdict. So that person who did this has to be able to be deemed to be guilty. So after you say that they're guilty, now you can forgive them.
Yeah.
Now you can say, Father, I give you permission to deal with them and to judge them. But if they didn't do anything wrong, if they're not guilty in your eyes, you're stopping the process from happening and from working.
So true.
For you to be set free. And a lot of times Christians get into this denial mode. This never happened to me. I was never molested. I was never incested. I'm just going to block all of this out and just pretend like it didn't happen. Well, we see the evidence of what didn't happen to you, and we see it manifesting throughout your life.
Yes.
And God wants better for you. He wants you to be able to forgive that person, but forgive them from a place of truth. And a lot of times people mistake forgiveness as saying they didn't do anything wrong at all. You will never get that from God.
Yes.
You will never get that from anyone who's on a true exorcism team. No, what that person did was dead wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And they should have never done it. It should have never been done. So, Bob Larson has this step in here. You cannot declare clemency or pardon without a guilty verdict. In the Christian community, not only do we have sloppy agape, but we have easy forgiveness. And when people have been wounded and shamed, one of the worst things they can possibly say is, I forgave them. I hold no grudges. You need to talk to the part inside of you that didn't, because you never indicted the instigator. So even though people on the surface say, yeah, I forgive them, if there's a part of you on the inside that really has not acknowledged what happened to you and has placed the blame properly, you won't be able to get them free. You won't be able to get them to see the totality of what the evil was that this person perpetrated against them. In the court of law, our emotions, we have never rendered a guilty verdict. How many folks are so quick to let their abusers off the hook because we assume and attribute to those in authority over us dignity and honor and respect and a rightness? A child does not want to believe that a parent is wrong. A young child does not want to believe that an older adult, a trusted family member, could possibly be evil and do what they are doing. Therefore, if a bad thing was done to me, it must be because I'm bad. We talked about this earlier. This is the mindset of the child. They really get rooted inside of this mindset. So the person blames themselves, and that shame is carried on from childhood into adulthood. And if it's not healed, they live in that shame for the rest of their lives, always letting the person off the hook. So there's no responsibility, there's no accountability for anything that was done to the person. 2, the second step, own their emotions. You have to own their emotions. We want to thank you for tuning in to the Lighthouse Church, Inc. Exorcism Team Discussion. We hope that you're getting a lot out of the teachings. You can always reach out to us through exorcism@lighthousechurchinc.org for any questions or comments or things that you would like for us to teach on. You also can check out our social media pages, Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. There you are going to find many, many teachings that will help you grow and help you to stay set free, but also help you to become the exorcism minister that God is calling you forth to be. Thank you, and God bless.